Hey class, good afternoon and welcome to week 4 of lifespan development. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we have reached the halfway point in our course. So, these 8-week classes, they just fly on by, and, with it being November and all, the season's changing and all that. To me, everything just feels like it's moving really quickly right now. So I don't know if you all have that perception or not, but that's at least how I'm perceiving things. I'm recording this video on a Friday afternoon. It's a chilly but a really pretty Friday afternoon. So hopefully, we'll all get out and maybe enjoy some of this fall weather while we can. Supposedly there's some snow coming, early next week. I don't know how true that is or not, but better enjoy the fall weather while we can, because looks like winter is on the brink. So. Also, we have Bedlam tomorrow, which I'm really pumped about. I know, it's OSU, OKC, but I got lots of love for both teams as a student at OU and as a teacher at OSU, OKC. So I'm really hoping just for a great game. I think that the Bedlam, even no matter who wins or no matter who's better, going into the game, it usually ends up being a pretty good game. At least I think so. I'm pretty looking forward to that. So putting our state on the forefront of college football, I think that's pretty cool. So, anyways, welcome back. This week, got a lot going on. No exam this week, thankfully. So, if you haven't completed exam 2, that's due by Monday night at 11:59 p.m. Again, it closes promptly at 11:59 p.m. So, please don't wait until the last moment to take the exam. Don't wait until like 11:30 because you probably won't have enough time. Once you've completed exam number 2, you can go ahead and begin reading for this week. We are looking at Chapter 9, which is physical and cognitive development in middle and late childhood. So, we're going to look at more physical changes that are occurring, the growth that is occurring. At this point, growth is still happening, but it's slowing down a little bit. So, children are their brains are growing, their bodies are growing, but not as rapidly maybe as the previous stage. You're also going to read about children with disabilities and some of the limitations and some difficulties that might place on families and how they cope with that. We're going to look at more cognitive changes, advancing in Piaget's theory. We're progressing I believe, from stage 2 to 3 at this point. Language is developing. It's becoming much more stronger use of language. Children should now at this point be speaking in full sentences. Maybe they're not always the best sentences in terms of grammar and word choices, but they're able to, they're moving beyond those 2-word sort of caveman sentences by this point. So read about that. You're also going to read about socio-emotional development at this stage of development. So we are looking at emotional and personality development. That's a big focus. The really big focus is that the role that families, peers, and schools have on children at this stage. When children enter school, they're in this kind of weird position where mom and dad or their parents or their caregivers are the primary agent of socialization. But when they go to school, that shifts dramatically to their peers and to the school itself. They're now sort of caught between 2 major institutions, the home and the school. And, kids strive the best, I think, when those two institutions are in sync with one another. But when there's problems between the two, that's when things can get complicated for kids pretty quickly. So especially during this time when children are starting to develop the sense of self, they're beginning to learn how to behave morally. That's really, really important to make sure, everybody's on the same page, in terms of school and home life. So, you're going to finish off middle and late childhood, and then we're going to switch gears and look at Chapter 11, which is getting into adolescence, physical and cognitive development during adolescence. And adolescence is a very, very fascinating and interesting stage in terms of development. For one, it's fairly novel. For most of human history, we didn't have adolescence. We didn't have teenage years. I mean, yes, you progress into your teenage years numerically, but the things that teens do now were not the things that teenagers did 100 years ago. If you were a teenager 100 years ago, you might have had a job, and maybe by 16, 17, you already have a family. When that happens now, it ends up on like daytime talk shows, and it's like a big controversy. If a 16-year-old were to have a family and something like that would be very shocking to us now. So adolescence is this time where we're kind of stuck between adulthood and childhood. It's a really weird place for people who are adolescents. Some people like G. Stanley Hall even liken this time to being a time of quote-unquote storm and stress. There's just a lot of change going on. physically, emotionally, psychologically, that change can be kind of overwhelming for some children. I think to some extent the research shows that adolescence, in terms of that angst and that, it's a tad bit overstated, but it does occur. It does happen. But maybe it's a little more overstated through pop culture than maybe we like to think. There's a lot of physical changes going on, specifically puberty. So children at this stage, or adolescents at this stage, are just bathing in hormones that they haven't had before. Their bodies are going through all kinds of changes. I mean, some of you as students, can remember this pretty fondly. You're a high school student. You can remember puberty not that long ago. And truth be told, puberty really lasts until you're about 25 years old. Your body changes and mostly changes by the time you're 18, 19, but your brain continues to develop, especially that frontal cortex, that frontal lobe, that prefrontal cortex is still developing until you're about 25. That's really why teenagers don't make the best of decisions until they reach a certain point and their brain has fully developed. Again, this chapter is going to look at schools and the role that schools play. But so this is a big transition going from childhood to adolescence. And so there's a whole set of unique problems and issues to think about with adolescents. Children are now getting into their secondary education. They're going to high school perhaps, maybe even driving, doing all kinds of things that, parents didn't have to worry about, the year before when they weren't adolescents. So read about that. This week's, I'll post a discussion. I haven't posted it yet, but I will post it soon, and I'm going to focus it on the topic of adolescence. So it gives you some opportunities to think about adolescence and discuss it amongst your peers. So there's a discussion this week. I also wanted to give you a heads up. I went ahead and posted our writing assignment for this semester, and I want to take a couple of minutes and talk about the writing assignment. It is a case study. Where you're given a case study scenario of a child who is an adolescent who's dealing with some issues at school, and you're given a scenario, and I want you to apply the things that you were learning in this class to help address this problem. You're going to be attempting to address this problem with the student himself, the teacher who's working with the student, the administration, and the parents who are working with this child as well. So you're going to put on a number of different hats and try to help these parents out, help the child out, and help out the school in general. Based on what you know about developmental psychology, you're going to be applying theories like Erik Erikson specifically to understand this case. It is a 3-page writing assignment. I'm giving you a number of prompts to write from, so I think 3 pages should be more than plenty. I've already posted it onto D2L. It's under week 5, I believe, where it's Thanksgiving break. So you should be able to find that there, but I recommend that you go ahead and start working on this as soon as possible. It's not due until the 26th, but it's the 9th now. That means you have over 2 weeks to work on it, and I think that's plenty of time to look over the assignment, complete the readings that you're going to need to understand how to complete the assignment, ask me any questions that you might have. I'm going to be pretty picky about format. I really do want it in Times New Roman 12-point font, double space. So please don't give me 16-point font Comic Sans. If you do, I will send it back to you and ask you to redo the assignment. Not to be a jerk, but it's a lot easier for me to read in that format. So go easy on my eyes. Keep it in 12-point. Keep it in Times New Roman. That's kind of what my eyes are used to reading. That's all the academic writing. That's how academic writing is done most of the time. So help me out, and you won't get a weird email saying, hey, please redo this. So please look over the directions of the assignment between now, before Thanksgiving break, and please let me know if you have any questions at all. Again, it's a 3-page writing assignment where you're going to take what you've learned in the class so far and apply it to a case study about a boy named Kevin who's really struggling in school right now, and maybe you can offer some solutions and help Kevin out, help his parents out as well. So that's it for week number 4 of our class. So don't forget to complete exam number 2 if you haven't done so yet. Read chapters 9, 10, and 11. Complete our discussion post by Friday, and then go ahead and take a look at the writing assignment that's due on the 26th when we come back from Thanksgiving break. If you don't want to work on this over Thanksgiving break, I recommend that you start sooner rather than later. But that's up to you. So anyways, I hope everyone enjoys their weekend. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Stay warm, stay safe, and I'll see you all next week. Take care.